In this video, we're going to look at focus and at the complexity or narrowness of focus. So think of a goal, and if we have a narrow, single-minded goal, you have a direct point. You have a single point that is the aim. So let's take a very common one in capitalist paradigms, which would be to make $1 million. Now, that's a somewhat broad goal because you could go about it in different ways. So let's narrow it down. Let's say that your single-minded goal, your only goal, is to arrive at home at 5 p.m. That's it. Nothing else matters. Be home at 5 p.m. Well, what happens as soon as we set a single-minded goal is that everything, almost everything, 99.999% of reality, becomes an enemy. You see a billboard. Well, that's a distraction in relationship to the goal of getting home by 5 p.m. Somebody calls on the phone and it's 3:45. Well, that could get in the way of getting home by 5 p.m. A friend waves and invites you to dinner, but that's a distraction. Because you want to be home by 5 p.m. Someone offers you the chance to make $1 billion. It's a complete waste of your time as far as your goal of getting home by 5 p.m. So when you have a very narrow goal, the only thing that isn't the enemy of that goal is perhaps a clear road and a working car. But you've got only one path forward. No matter what reality throws at you or offers you or entices you with, is perceived through that lens of that particular goal as the enemy, a distraction, a waste of time, unproductive, because it doesn't take you towards that goal. Now, let's say we go to the opposite extreme. So the opposite of a single-minded goal is an infinitely big set of multiple goals. So the opposite of one is infinite, and singular, multiple, and simple, get home at 5 p.m., complex. See, now we've got all kinds of goals. I have a goal of making money. I have a goal of giving away money. I have a goal of becoming more educated. I have a goal of letting my mind be free of mental clutter. I have a goal of visiting people over here. I have a goal of visiting people over here. I have a goal of visiting people over there. Now, the exact opposite is true. Every single thing that happens in any form, at any time, is taking me towards one of my goals. Someone calls unexpectedly, and I thought it was Joe that was calling for their appointment, but instead it's Sally. And now I have the chance to talk to Sally, and what a wonderful opportunity. Because, of course, that's one of my goals, to talk to Sally. One of my goals is talk to Joe. Another of my goals is talk to Sally. Now, what I'm pointing to is an important principle to be aware of. The more simple, the more singular our goals, the more we are at war with reality. Because no matter what our goal is, there's going to be part of reality that is helping in some way, and there's going to be a lot of reality that isn't. So if my number one goal is to singularly achieve something, there's going to be some resources, some parts of reality that help me, but the majority of reality is going to, in some way, get in the way. And so one of the ways to ensure that we are constantly at war with a large portion of reality is to have only one goal. And if we want to really have a war with reality, we have to have only one goal, with the goal of achieving it in only one way, at only one time, in only one space. I want this goal at this time, in this space, and I want it to happen in this way. Now, 99.9% of reality is a diversion, an enemy, a distraction, a competition, a threat, something that's, getting in my way, a waste of my time, unnecessary, unproductive, not what I wanted to have happen, not the way I wanted it to have, to occur. And yet, through a much more open and flexible lens, with a much more complex goal, everything that happens is useful in some way. Take a mistake. When my goal is to achieve a certain goal, and my goal is to learn, and my goal is to enjoy the journey, and my goal is to understand how reality works, well, then when I make a mistake, I don't achieve the goal. Let's say I wanted to hit the bullseye with darts, and I missed the board. I don't achieve the goal of the bullseye, but at the very moment that I'm failing to achieve the bullseye, I'm succeeding in multiple other goals. I'm understanding reality. I'm learning what does and doesn't work. I'm enjoying the journey. Oh, that was interesting. Let's see. So where did it fall? Gee, there's obviously something called gravity, right? Because I threw it and it went down towards the biggest object around, which is the Earth. It didn't go up, it went down. So I have to account for gravity and throw it up higher and then calculate. I see. So there's all these things that I can learn. And so understanding this, we can see that on the one hand, to be infinitely open to everything in all ways leads to doing nothing. There's no direction. There's just a wonderful sense of presence and an awareness that every single thing that happens, which by definition has a positive and a negative side relative to something specific, is good for some things and bad for others. Everything that happens is good for something, bad for something else. And so we could do absolutely nothing, not push anything, not fight anything, just look at what is and work with it. Why push the wheelbarrow up the hill? There's all these benefits to not completing the house. As soon as we complete the roof, it's going to block out a little bit of the view from a certain angle. So maybe it would be better to just leave the house unbuilt. On the other hand, if you did build the house and finish the roof, then it would block out some of the rain. But you'd have more expense in roofing materials, and so maybe it's not worth your while. And so you might as well go with the flow and either do nothing at all because, hey, if you die, you don't have to maintain a body and pay a mortgage. But if you live, well, then there's a whole range of sensory opportunities to explore. On the other hand, with the single-minded focus, there's all of these things. Reality becomes incredibly fragile. I want this in this way at this time with this person for these reasons. And that's not working, and that's not working, and we become incredibly frustrated. But we also can be sometimes more potent, meaning much like a water jet from a hose. If we direct a jet at a mud pile, it cuts through the mud much more than a mist. So a more direct and intentional focus often has more impact, creates faster results than a more of a misting type thing. It's very hard to, you can even use a water jet to cut through steel. And it's very hard to do that in a fine mist. You can mist steel for hundreds of years and not cut through it. But if you produce a certain jet with enough intensity, you can cut through steel in a matter of minutes. And so focus, complexity, intention are one of the nozzles, one of the variables that we use to both determine the speed at which we get a given thing done. The more singular our focus, the more singular our intention, often the faster it will get done. But the more of reality we must tune out or go to war with in order to accomplish it. The more open and complex our goals, the more reality is always helping us. And the less we see the need to achieve or set out to achieve. So take your pick. Focus, diffusion, inclusion, exclusion. Pros and cons. Hi, I'm Dane Rose. All knowledge begins with a paradigm, and out of that paradigm comes an idea, an awareness that we adopt, reject, or synthesize into something better. It doesn't become wisdom, it doesn't become useful until we take action, until we integrate it into not only our thoughts, but our feelings, our body, our words, and our way of being. For that to occur, we have to move from the passive media paradigm into more active engagement. In the link below, in the More Information section, is an invitation to join a very small, deliberately filtered, high-quality discussion with a group of people who share a common language and want to work with these ideas, with me and with one another, with the sole goal of creating 10 times more sustainable well-being for ourselves and those around us per unit of energy invested. Thank you for watching.